Hello everybody and welcome back to another Gran Turismo video. Today we're going to be looking at Daily Race A around the Tokyo Expressway in a specified car. Jumping straight into the qualifying time trial, the car we're going to be using for this race is the Honda Civic Si Extra, and I actually haven't driven this car much at all before this, so it's a completely new experience. And in order to be fast around this track with this car, you really just have to carry a lot of speed into all these corners. Carrying your momentum through these corners is really the main theme of this video, as you'll see later on. The Honda Civic that I'm using is also front-wheel drive, so you'll notice a lot of understeer with the car, meaning that the car doesn't drift a lot, which you need in this race in order to be fast. So that means traction control is going to be all the way down to 0. This is my fastest qualifying time trial attempt, but there was also a lot of mistakes, so just keep that in mind when watching. Now, there was at least, I'd say, a second in here of wasted time, so I might revisit that in the future, but for now, this lap time will have to do. The whole lap is pretty much flat out, except for a couple of short braking zones where you have to downshift once or twice, but other than that, the whole lap is pretty much flat out. So the main theme of this race is just going to be carrying speed everywhere you go, and if you lose any speed, you're kind of doomed. Heading up now into the final sequence of corners, during the upcoming couple of races, this sector is usually where I shine the most from my competitors. As we head out of the last turn across the finish line, it's going to be a 140.914, which is enough to start me P3 for my first race. I also noticed that the top 4 times were also very similar, which is to be expected around such a short track with a slow car. My main goal for this race is just to stay out of trouble and just to try to finish as high up as possible. Also keeping in mind that this track is very hard to overtake, as the track is not super wide. On paper, this car and track combination makes for a very dull and boring race, but in actuality, it was very fun considering the very minimal overtaking opportunities, as you'll see later on in this race. Heading up into turn 1, we're going to tap the wall on the right side, not getting the greatest of starts. As you can see on the radar, 3 cars are already right behind us, waiting for an opportunity to take the position away from me, as we just start to get dropped already from the top 2, as the gap to the leader is already right around 2 seconds. I'm already having to keep an eye behind me, just making sure that they're far enough behind in case I need to cover the inside into the upcoming corner. Carrying a lot of speed through here, we don't really want to go below 97 miles per hour. As you see, carrying a lot of speed through that corner, we're going to be eking out our gap from behind while simultaneously closing in on the 2 Canadians in front. This corner here is one that you really just have to get dead right, or else you'll go crashing into the wall, as I tapped it right there. Downshifting into 3rd gear for this corner. It's actually one of the very few downshifts throughout this whole lap. As you can see, I carry a lot more momentum through that corner than the Canadian in front. So I'm going to pull up on the right side, and I probably would have got that move done if I hadn't slammed into the wall, but that was probably the least of my concerns, as coming out of this corner, I get pushed into the wall, losing 1 position momentarily, but keeping the inside for the final turn. I hang on to the position and maybe squeeze them a bit to the outside, but manage to give them enough room. At the end of lap 1, we've neither gained nor lost any positions, so it's not looking too bad as of right now. Into the first corner again, you really just need to rotate this car as much as possible while carrying a lot of momentum, which is easier said than done, as this car is front-wheel drive, making it very hard to rotate, especially with the limited power, as it's a very weak car. The leader at this point has pulled away quite substantially, as we skip forward from lap 2 to the beginning of lap 3, where I've been dropped quite a bit from the Canadian in front, but also substantially eked out the gap from the American behind. Heading up into this corner, we're going to go a bit wide, actually dropping to right around 92 miles an hour, which is not ideal. As you can see, the gap behind starts to slowly evaporate, coming down this long straight. Coming into this fast right-hander, again, a corner you need to get dead right, as we actually kind of nail it here. Coming up into this turn here, again, downshifting into third, trying to keep our RPM as high as possible to maintain our speed. We actually get a much better exit than the Canadian in front. As you can see, the gap in front has gone down by a couple of tenths as we head into this short straight here, leading into the final couple of corners. As we hit our braking point, we are going to tap the wall slightly on the left side, heading into the final corner where the car really likes to understeer a lot, as we touched upon earlier, because the car is front-wheel drive. Getting a somewhat slow exit out of the final corner. As we come across the line to start the final lap, we are going to fast forward a bit here. Not much else to say about this race as of so far. Coming up into this corner, braking right as we hit the bump. The guy in front actually makes a little bit of a mistake and doesn't carry enough momentum into this corner, so we will be gaining a lot in this back straight. I do feel that I could have challenged for a higher position if I didn't make as much mistakes throughout this race, as we're going to make another one here. Coming up into this corner, we're just going to hit the wall, ruining a little bit of our momentum. As you can see, the guy just pulls away through this corner, but we actually come back at him through this sequence here. This is the last lap, so our final opportunity to try to overtake him will be at the end of this straight here. So we're just going to sit in the slipstream, and he actually leaves the inside open, so we're just going to sneak down the inside and hit our braking point, but we don't quite make the move stick, as we also get shoved into the wall. We are actually going to lose another position going down into P4, but we managed to stay up the inside and just hold on to the position. Just a disappointing end to this race, really. Nothing more to be said. I could have got second place, but the top four were quite competitive. As you can see, the times were very close. It's never a good feeling when you know you could have gotten more out of a race. So, with that being said, heading into the second race here, starting P3 again. We're not going to get the greatest of launches. As you see on the radar, the guy behind quickly catches up and actually almost overtakes us into the first corner, as you'll see shortly here. Coming up into the first corner, we're going to have to defend the inside, but we're going to keep the position as two cars are right behind us applying pressure. Skipping forward a bit to the middle of the first lap, at this point in the race, I feel like I have the pace to contest for at least second place, if not first, as there's a bit of contact behind. Going a bit wide into this corner, not carrying the speed as I would have liked. As you can see, the American in second place just begins to pull away. Heading onto the short straight, we are going to have the advantage of slipstream, so keeping that in mind just in case a gap opens up down the inside. As we head down into one of the very few braking zones in this track, we're actually going to get a great exit out of this corner, catching up to second place quite substantially, and he's going to leave the door open down the inside, so we're going to take advantage of it and pull off a fabulous overtake. That corner is actually one of the very few places you can actually pull off an overtake in this track. We're just going to fast forward a bit here to the first corner and tapping the wall on the inside, just again losing momentum, and that overtake that we just pulled off is going to prove to be useless as we get shoved into the wall, losing the position we just gained. We are going to get the run on him as we're just sitting in the slipstream down the straight, looking to try to take the inside line away from him going into this right-hander here. There's not much you could do about incidents like those, but just keep your head down and keep trying to fight. As we look down the inside here, we're just going to have to back off. He does make a mistake, though, as he bumps into the wall, so we are going to get the run on him yet again down this straight, heading into the other right-hander. Going purple through the second sector, I believe. As we come down to our braking point, we are going to have the inside line, and we're going to regain the position. So a bit of contact behind, actually, as you can see on the radar. It's a very tricky corner to get dead right, as I touched upon earlier, as you have to drift the car perfectly into the apex keeping in mind that you can't carry too much speed or else you'll come crashing into the wall. Heading down into turn 1 again, tapping the wall on the inside. It's very tricky to get dead right. Losing a lot of momentum again. This time fighting for third place. We're going to keep the inside line, heading down this flat, long right-hander. He does have the slipstream down this straight though, so we're going to be cautious and take the inside line away from him. Forcing him to take the outside line going into this right-hand corner. None of that's going to matter, however, as he decides to take the inside line anyway and again shoves us into the wall, which was not very nice, costing us 2 positions on the final lap of the race, which is not ideal at all. Now, the only thing I can hope for is a miracle between the two in front to just fight out and crash into each other. Just trying to keep with them, not losing too much time in case something like that does happen though. Down this straight here, they actually do start to fight out a little bit, but it's not going to be enough for an opportunity to open up as we come into the final sequence of corners here. Going a bit wide into the corner, just losing out to the 2 guys in front. Just a very disappointing to the end of this race, as I had P2 in the bag until the final lap, getting shoved into the wall. Again, there's nothing you can really do about those type of situations, but it's going to be a P4, which was not anything to write home about. Heading into the third race, we're going to be starting P3 again, just trying to improve on the disappointing end to the last race. The starts were something that I was getting wrong consistently in each race. As you see here, we miss a gear, and as a result of that, the guy in 4th place is going to catch up quite significantly. He's going to go on the outside into the first corner, but we are going to manage to keep the position down the inside here. I mean, not much to be said about this race, as I was in no man's land the whole time, so we're just going to skip on over to the end of lap 4, as heading down into the fast right-hander, the American in 2nd place makes a gorgeous move on the outside to take the lead of the race, and I was actually quite surprised by this, but we come home to take P3. Nothing too much went on in this race. Again, another close finish between the top 3. Heading into the 4th race now, just again looking for a win here, or at least a 2nd place finish, but we have to nail the start, and we accidentally double shift, as you can see, just briefly shifting into 3rd before shifting back down into 2nd, which is going to cost us a lot of time. As you can see, the guy behind is actually going to overtake us into the first corner, so we're already down into P4 before the race really even started. But this race actually proved to be one of my better ones, as we do make progress in the field. Heading on to lap 2 here into the first corner. 2nd place and 3rd place are going to be fighting it out, so we have to make sure we get a good entry into the corner, and we do, while we gain a lot of momentum on 3rd place, regaining the position down the inside into the double right-hander. We do tap the wall a bit, but it doesn't really cost us much speed. So now we're going to be just sitting in the slipstream from the 2nd place guy in front. Skipping forward a little bit to the end of lap 2 and the beginning of lap 3. Behind 2nd place now, we have regained our position from the last lap. So we're really just trying to maintain our speed and maybe go for a move down the straight to gain 2nd place. Into the double right-hander now. We do have a lot more momentum and speed than the guy in front. Paired with the slipstream, it's going to be very hard for him to defend this position down into the right-hander coming up. So we're going to go down the right side, take the inside line away from him, and just hit the braking point, slip our car into the inside, and we are going to pull this move off, coming out of it with P2. So we're just going to skip forward a little bit to the middle of lap 4. Coming down into the tough right-hander here, we're actually going to nail the entry and get a great exit. And at this point, the gap to P1 has gone down quite a bit, so we're trying to catch up to him, but we do go a bit wide here, which kind of nullifies any chance of trying to catch up to him, which was pretty disappointing because in this race, I feel like I had the pace to sort of contest for the win. Although being realistic, I probably didn't stand much of a chance. considering the start I had where I lost 1 position down into turn 1. At the end of the race, we did end up gaining 2 positions from that though, so I can't really be too mad about it. Heading now into the 5th and final race, where I actually had a couple of chances to try to take the lead of the race and pull off the win. It doesn't quite happen in the end though, as you'll see later on. Heading into turn 1, we're going to go down the inside of 2nd place. We do squeeze our way through the inside, but I think it's a clean move. I didn't shove him into the wall, and he doesn't end up losing a further position after that. So we pull off the move, and we're now in P2 chasing P1. And at this point, my hopes are pretty high for this race, as I couldn't have really asked for a better start. Coming up into this fast right-hander at the end of lap 1, the American in 1st place is not going to carry enough speed into this corner. As you see, we're going to catch up very significantly through here. So we actually have a chance to gain the lead. He does block me a little bit, and I do go into the back of him, sort of canceling out all of my momentum, so I don't really have a chance going down into this left-hand turn. That was really one of my only opportunities to try and take control of this race. As you can see, he just begins to pull away quite quickly. I do get somewhat of another opportunity to try and overtake in the fastest part of the lap, but this corner is never really a place to try to get an overtake done. As you can see, he just begins to pull away again, getting a much better exit than I do. Heading on to the beginning of lap number 4, the gap has extended to nearly 2 seconds now, but this lap is where I sort of started to gain a bit of hope, as he started to make a couple of mistakes. Coming up into the final sector of the last lap, as I touched upon in the beginning of the video, this sector is where I usually shined above my opposition, as in this sequence of corners alone, I gain nearly 7/10 of a second on P1, but time is running out quickly as the lap is almost over, so if I want to make a move, I have to do it immediately. Sadly though, the last overtaking opportunity is down this straight, and I'm not going to be close enough to go for the move on the inside, so we're just going to have to settle into P2 and come across the line to take 2nd place. In the end, we were only separated by around 8/10 of a second, but 2nd place is, I think, the best I could do at this moment in time. Anyways, that's all for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. That's all for me, and have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.